You are now tuned into the truth frequency.
We are TFR. TFR.
Truth Frequency Radio.
For they had said, "Come and let us build for ourselves a city, and let us take axes and break open the firmament, so that the water flow from there and descend below, that he may not do unto us as he did in the generation of the flood. And let us wage war with those in heaven and establish ourselves there as gods." Welcome, friends. I'm your host, Zen Garcia. This is Secrets Revealed here on truthfrequencyradio.com, and I thank all of you for taking the time to join us this evening. I have as co-host always Kathy Dunson. Kathy, are you there, sister?
Yes, I am. Good evening, all.
Welcome. And we have as special guest Mark Sargent. Mark, are you there, brother?
I am here, and thanks for having me.
Thank you, brother. He's the host of Strange World, which broadcasts live here every Tuesday night on Truth Frequency Radio as well. And he is the author of Flat Earth Clues, The Sky's the Limit, and the soon-coming Flat Earth for Dummies. Is that right, Mark?
Well, we'll see.
That's a good idea.
That's
right?
not a bad idea. Not a bad idea.
And so, if you would, can you tell people where they can go to find and support your work and the exact times to catch you live?
Sure. To catch me live again on Truth Frequency Radio, that is Tuesday nights right now, 7 Pacific, 10 Eastern. You can go to my website, enclosedworld.com. The book, Flat Earth Clues, is on Amazon in audio format and digital format and every other format you can think of. Or you could just type in Flat Earth Clues into YouTube, and the YouTube channel is Mark K. Sargent, my name.
Excellent. Well, I know most of the people that are involved or beginning to look into and research as far as Flat Earth as topic have heard or have studied your work. And I know that many people also pass on your video series and probably your book now to those that are just getting into it in order to make it understandable for them, because you do a really good job in presenting it in a way that opens even the layperson to the various different aspects and segments of it and get them to consider and to open themselves to the possibilities of it. And so what other kind of projects are you working on, and anything of just, stupendous interest? Because I know you have your finger on the pulse of what's going on with Flat Earth as far as topic, community, and breaking news events. So
sure,
yeah,
it has been an amazing. It hasn't been that long since I've been on this show, but a lot has happened.
Right.
In fact, the mainstream media world got a real heavy dose of Flat Earth just recently, and which was great timing because we just announced. Well, let's start off with the Flat Earth Conference, the International Flat Earth Conference, which is going to be November 9th and 10th in Raleigh, North Carolina. And wow, once that was announced, and that should have been news enough for the beginning of the year. But then an interesting thing happened, and I don't know if you guys have been covering it that much, but NBA basketball star, world champion, best point guard in the NBA, Kyrie Irving, during a podcast on his way to the All-Star basketball game in New Orleans, decides to come out as a flat earther. Out and his friend, and it wasn't just him. His friend, it was a podcast with a couple other people, but one of them was his friend Richard Jefferson, who's also a conspiracy guy. Don't think for a second that Richard is punking him or trying to troll him. He baited him, and Kyrie went for it. And so by the time that plane landed, the mainstream media was ready to descend upon him, because most people know that in the sports world, especially professional sports of football and soccer and basketball and baseball, sports stars are notoriously boring at interviews. They are coached literally to say, certain phrases and paragraphs when it comes to sports interviews. Give 110%. The team played hard, and the other team was good, and coaching, blah blah blah. All this crap we've all heard a million times. So when the best point guard in the NBA comes out and says, Oh, yeah, by the way, I believe in the flat earth. Here's why. Goes into some detail. And then he goes into a room, a stadium basically filled with reporters. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to come at him. And by the time, and that was on a Friday night that he did the podcast. So by the time, and Saturday and Sunday, a lot of shows were already digesting it. But I called it by Monday morning. The shows that are weekday shows, basically every weekly show on, or even daily show on ESPN covered this thing. So I was so busy 2 and 3 weeks ago. I was literally just producing videos as fast as I could, because not only did Kyrie come out and say this, but then Draymond Green from the Golden State Warriors, he was like on board. It was like, yeah, it could be. You could tell the guys that were in and weren't. And then his teammate, LeBron James, currently the most recognizable athlete in the world, he didn't shoot it down either. He was sitting right next to him going, yeah, if he believes it, he's okay with me. And it didn't make him seem crazy at all, I was just cranking out videos as fast as I could. So I'm literally looking at my video list, and I put out a conference video, and then Kyrie Irving, then Draymond Green, then LeBron, and then CNN covers it in a CNN article. They drug Bill Nye, the science idiot, back into the game, and so I did a rant on him, and I don't know if I may have caught it or may have didn't, but Bill Nye has now become one of my new personal hobbies, which is that man.
That's
everyone
absolute
again.
Deceit with him. He's not a science guy.
Well, that's just it. It's not. I will say this: there's no deception in his title. He's the science guy. He's just a guy that talks about science. But here's the thing, but mainstream media, and I won't go off too much on this. I'll give you the quick summary, which is mainstream media he looks like such a quintessential nerd that
Mr. Rogers.
Put him on camera, give him a topic. Yeah, Revenge of the Nerds. Put him on camera, give him a topic, and he looks credible. But he's put on panels which he has absolutely no background in whatsoever. It's like, well, Bill Nye, let's ask him about meteorology. We're talking about astronomy, quantum physics. Hey, Bill, how would you like to design a piece for the Mars rover? Blah, blah, blah. It just keeps going on and on. It's like, look, the man has a bachelor's in mechanical engineering. That's it. No master.
He met with the president. Wasn't he on Air Force One with him?
Yes.
I mean, Obama.
Oh my God.
Yeah. He is every mainstream, and this is just lazy journalism, in my opinion. The mainstream media, they realize he's good on camera. Not as good as say Neil deGrasse Tyson, but he's good on camera. Bring him out. People go, oh yeah, I remember him. He used to do a children's show about teaching science, and Disney picked it up. He is literally an actor. He was a mechanical engineer. They got bored with engineering really early, started off as in an acting troupe in Seattle, Washington, did a little skit about him doing science experiments, really resonated with people, did a children's show for 5-6 years about, teaching kids about basics about how water boils and fire burns and gravity and stuff like that. And people it just resonated to where now that's what they do. So if CNN needs to talk to somebody about climate change, they're going to frickin' bring him on. And that's what they did here. They brought him on literally to respond to the whole Kyrie Irving thing. Why are you asking this guy? Why are you doing this? He is not, and granted, in his wiki thing, he will say that he's a science educator. Totally get that. But the disclaimer is not there when he's on Larry King Live and when he's the subject matter expert on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and all these other things he's done. It drives me nuts.
And he just sits there and kind of shakes his head and doesn't say a whole lot in response, and that's good enough for them. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
He comes on with the moniker and science. And actually, I have to give kudos to Jake, the flat Earth a-hole. I didn't know that in-depth background about him until I saw his video. So, I mean, there's a lot of real good truth digging in the flat Earth community.
Oh, yeah. And again, Bill Nye, I understand he found a role, he found a niche. And you got to remember, his first book wasn't even put out until 2 years ago. He's just been milking the acting thing until, for years and years. I mean, starting from the early 90s. He's been milking this thing, and he's the modern day Mr. Wizard. Although I'm pretty sure if you looked up Mr. Wizard, he probably had more education than Bill Nye did. Bill Nye wasn't even a Hollywood actor. He was a Seattle actor that did a skit where literally he was just a jacket and a bow tie talking about science and, thin, his facial features, very nerdish looking guy. If he wore thick glasses with tape around the center, it would be perfect. Anyway, so they Sports Illustrated actually called him up at home to talk about the Kyrie Irving thing. And then I'm looking through my videos. Sports Nation did a show on him. The Jump, which is a basketball show. The First Take on ESPN did it. Let's see, Sports 120 Sports, another big show. And then Joe Rogan, and this happened, rapid fire, by Monday and Tuesday. Then Joe Rogan could not help himself. He drags Neil deGrasse Tyson into the studio, brings him into his place for a video interview, and they're talking about Kyrie at some point. Then TMZ you probably saw that one, when TMZ got Neil deGrasse Tyson. They caught him at home after smoking a whole bunch of weed, and seriously, he was freaking baked, and he's just laughing and saying that he was saying stuff to the effect of, well, it's a free country and you can say what you want, but Kyrie should stick to basketball and not ever come near science or NASA, which was insulting.
Yeah, totally.
AJ Styles, the World Wrestling Federation guy, former champion, although they're all champions on WWE. He comes on a wrestling show and he's dancing around the issue. His friend knows full well he's into conspiracies and he believes in the flat earth. And AJ Styles says to the effect where, he goes, I'm not going to talk about it, but there's some stuff here that you wouldn't be able to handle. It's like, I know the dirt on flat earth. And then what happened? Then it was brought up on the Bill Maher show. It was the interesting panel. Bill Maher and Seth MacFarlane, the creator of Family Guy and American Dad and all this other stuff, they're having a really, really tough time with it because Bill Maher is a big science geek. ESPN Radio, Mike and Mike brought it up. Fox, Dish Nation. I'm just reading through the list of my videos. Cool. And then we'll end the Kyrie thing with this part, where then Kyrie goes on. Richard Jefferson goes on Fox Sports, and I've actually got the T-shirt. You guys can't see it here, but Richard Jefferson released a brand new T-shirt. I don't think he even copyrighted it, called "Flat World Champions," which is the kind of a globish thing, but it's got a basketball instead of a globe, and then around the top was flat World Champions. Talk about you could not ask for better publicity in such a short amount of time, because the season's still going. So the deeper this guy goes into the playoffs, the more exposure, because the more wins, he's in the peak of his career. It's not like a retired guy or a flash in the pan. He's the world champion point guard. So as he goes on in the season, any kid that looks up Kyrie Irving, all you have to do is type in Kyrie Irving into Google, you will find flat earth all over.
Did you mention Howard Stern? Mention it too?
I haven't even gotten to that part yet. I'm just sorry. I was wondering which, there's so many different topics. We can go to this. Don't let me forget about the SpaceX moon mission.
You got it.
Let's see, Howard Stern. Yeah, there's so many videos I've made. The Howard Stern. I don't know who called into the Howard Stern show, but he brought up flat Earth to Howard Stern, brought up my name, and what's interesting was Howard Stern didn't hang up on him right away. He let that sucker go for a while.
Wow.
And he played, the first video he found on YouTube was from ODD. He plays a little clip from the ODD video and then kind of jokes around how he's going to do a show from the edge of the earth, blah, blah, blah. But the fact that Howard Stern's even talking about it without hanging up and just saying the guy's an idiot. Oh, geez. Eddie Bravo.
I was going to ask you about that.
Oh, my Lord. So here's the story there, because it really depends who you talk to. This is about the best.
He's thinking about it.
Oh, well, he represented really well.
Oh, yeah.
I was well impressed.
So Eddie Bravo has been on, I don't know if he's a cage fighter. I know he's a Taekwondo guy, big fighter. And he's a friend of Joe Rogan's, and he's been on Joe Rogan's show a bunch, and he's more extreme. He's what Joe Rogan kind of used to be. I think he and Joe back in the day would swap conspiracy stories and just amp each other up.
Mhm.
But Joe Rogan's not a conspiracy guy anymore, so that's fine. So Eddie gets invited finally, and one of my listeners said that they had actually badgered Alex Jones. I had always criticized. There's three shows that will not even really entertain Flat Earth, which is interesting. One is Coast to Coast, even though they did a show with me on it. The two is Joe Rogan, even though he's talked about it on at least 14, 15 different episodes now. He won't dedicate a show to Flat Earth, but he'll talk about it. And I know full well it's just because he's obligated. He was threatened and he just can't.
Yeah.
And the third is Alex Jones. Alex Jones, one of his producers, it was at least a year ago, came to me and asked me, is it possible to do a Flat Earth show without saying Flat Earth?
What?
I know, yeah, exactly. And I go, well, I know where they were going with this, because you can dance around the issue as much as you want, but sooner or later you're gonna have to say it, because the listeners are gonna want it too. They're gonna say, what are we talking about here?
Right.
Different people who have interviewed me have also said the same thing, and that is we're kind of nervous because of the backlash. Because as you know, in the chat rooms, unless it's a show that's kind of pro Flat Earth, the chat rooms just light up. The phone, it's a call-in show. The phone lines light up. Doesn't matter who it is. People just go berserk.
Right.
They don't know what to do. So the Alex Jones show was the same way. I mean, they just broke 2 million subscribers on YouTube. And that's just the YouTube part. That's not their other subscription service. You know, they do pretty well. And they're afraid that if they entertain Flat Earth, the argument will be, how can you even talk about this, right? But it's gotten so big now, the community is so enthusiastic that they had to deal with it one way or the other. So they did something very clever. They fly down Eddie Bravo down to Texas, because that's where Alex Jones' show is, down to Austin, Texas. And they invite him out to dinner with all the producers and assistants of the Alex Jones show, InfoWars, without Alex. So Alex isn't in the room. And that's deliberate, because then you put some drinks in Eddie and just let him go. Spin him like a top and see what happens. And everyone, he's running that room. And the original, and what they did was they filmed it. It was a live stream. I've never seen this before. But yeah, it was a live stream for like 2 hours. And I knew this because it was on a Tuesday. It was just this last Tuesday. And I knew because somebody was messaging me, because I had a show to do Tuesday night. And I'm watching this thing literally up to the last minute before I jump on my show, because it's like, holy smokes, he's talking about it a lot, and they're asking him questions, and he is absolutely representing. He's just going. And what was interesting was after he was done, they pulled that from the info channel. Now, of course, it wouldn't make any difference because there were people already recording. So they, in fact, out of the 2 hours that they streamed, they only put 38 minutes on YouTube, and I grabbed it almost immediately. And the part I grabbed that talked about Flat Earth, out of the 38 minutes, he talked about Flat Earth for about 20 of it, and the InfoWars watermark is in the corner, and you can see that. And then they pulled that, but somebody else recorded the whole thing, and so I grabbed the other 24, 25 minutes of it. So I did Eddie Bravo talks about Flat Earth at InfoWars Dinner, part 1 and part 2.
Awesome.
It was so great. I mean, he would not, you could tell he was totally into it. He knew his stuff backwards and forwards. He even mentions Eric Dubé's video at the end. It was an interesting choice of videos. He mentions Eric Dubé's The History of Flat Earth, which means that it was very, very recent. The History of Flat Earth is not an old video by Eric. And so he goes out, he does that. That was fantastic and great for him. And he didn't say anything. Other people, they couldn't attack him. He got a really great gift of gab. He's got a lot of passion, and it's fantastic. It was great to see. And so then he goes, and here's the reason why they did this dinner, because when he goes on the Alex Jones show, which was 2+ hours, they didn't talk about Flat Earth. Alex never brought it up. Eddie didn't bring it up. You could tell that somewhere between dinner and the Alex Jones show, they said, look, you talked about it last night. We're not going to talk about it on this show. And the reason is because during that stream, it's a great test. The internet is fantastic now for using it as a test bed. So you put the video out there, you look at the social media comments,
Right.
And then you judge for yourself, okay, what can we do with this? And they decided there was just too many people on both sides. You got a group of people who are saying, wow, I'm so glad you talked about this. And the other side, the scary side for them is, look, I'm totally going to unsub if you do this again. And that's all they have to hear. It comes down to, I hate to say this, but it comes down to the money for those guys.
Yep, exactly.
So they pulled it they pulled the video from InfoWars, but it didn't matter because there was enough people out there, and they didn't even hit me with a copyright thing. And I monetized the video, and I was waiting for them to copyright it, and they didn't. Joe Rogan copyrights all his video stuff. Alex Jones, though, did not in this case, and I thought that was very interesting. Anyway, so all that stuff I listed up to you happened in the last 3 weeks. It was.
Well, that is awesome.
It was.
Eddie Bravo is fun because he brought out the props. He had the light in the center of the table as the sun and salt and pepper shaker. Yeah, the dinner plates. I mean, it was really a great
perfect.
example.
I mean, he got some of the dates. He got some of the dates wrong, and I know he had a few drinks in him. But
I got some things watching him that I just had been stuck on before. Something clicked, and it was from that. So nice. And then the one, I mean, again, that was just a couple days ago. And then yesterday I posted AMTV, who usually you would think would just tear this thing apart. And he's got 300-something thousand subscribers. He brings on ODD, a video, chats with him for 30 minutes. It was incredible. ODD did a very great job. He hasn't done a whole bunch.
He's been killing it.
Yeah. It was just amazing. And then today, I haven't even posted a video on this. I don't know if I'm going to. Guess who came out of hiding and did a grouped hangout today?
No idea.
Eric Dubé.
Really?
Eric Dubé went on Dell from Scotland, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
He
Beyond the Imaginary Curve. I love his channel.
He went on that hangout.
Wow.
Today. It was amazing.
Maybe he's opening up.
I was like, okay, well, he has to. In this case, it's gotten so big. It's gotten so big now. Like, look, you can stay behind your castle walls for as long as you want, but you're going to miss I'm mixing metaphors here. You're going to miss the train if you do not jump on this thing fast. Mm-hmm. The fact that ODD is on AMTV, you got to get on something like right now, if you're gonna keep doing what you're doing, because there's people now that are going to be. My interviews are picking up. I just finished 103 yesterday, and that was a university place in Western University out of Canada. I can't remember what city it is in Canada. But the fact that ODD went on was fan-frickin-tastic, and the fact that Eric came out is also fantastic. I hope he does more stuff. And it wasn't. I heard he had it scheduled. Talk about great timing, great synchronicity. Oh, you got to go to break here in a second. Great synchronicity is that apparently he scheduled that hangout before Eddie Bravo mentioned him during the InfoWars dinner.
Nice.
Yeah. So anyway, it has been nutty for the last 2 weeks. I don't even know what's coming. Well, I can tell you what's next, but I'll tell you after the break. There's some really, really cool stuff coming up.
Excellent. Yeah, most certainly. Looking forward to it. And I give props to ODD. He's most certainly been killing it and representing well. And, anybody that really opens themselves to the possibility of this, does their research, and tries to debunk it, will have to turn flat Earth if they are in any way earnest and honest about their research. There's no denying it.
It's a Pandora's box. What I've seen, and how many seconds do we have left?
A minute, 5 seconds.
Okay, a minute, 5 seconds. What I've seen is the only defense against flat Earth right now is treating it like Pandora's box, meaning the only people that I've seen immune to flat Earth are the ones that just won't look in the box. And you can tell these people a mile away because they will not do the research at all. So if Pandora is FE, it's like, well, that's a dumb box. It's stupid box. I'm not going to look in the box. Why are you looking in the box? You're an idiot for even making me look on the outside of that box. And they just go on and on. It's like
the Christian community. They won't look.
Some will.
The ones that are diehard. That's what I see. They won't.
Yeah, but as you know, there's been a small civil war happening in the Christian community. I mean, Rob Skiba, Rob is just lining up and taking swings at people now.
You're listening to the Truth Frequency Radio Network.
No hate, no hype. No fear.
And in those days, there were giants in the land, and the sons of the angels of God looked upon the daughters of men and found them fair, and took of them wives, and their sons became of old great men of renown. So they have been mixing with us on a genetic level since the time of Enoch and Ezekiel's will.
Here on Earth we're intrigued by the sun, moon, and stars, and imagine there's got to be planets like ours. Some conceive of a face on the surface of Mars, so in need of a meaning and purpose we've lost. And indeed they believe that these might be our gods, or that maybe with time we'll do right and evolve, and eventually reach what they seek, and then solve all the problems of man. But they really don't know that they fall, and the works of our hands are but just filthy rags. So we travel the lands to dig up our past. Time elapses, and with it are much of the facts. Some imagine that gods came in alien crafts.
All right, welcome back, everybody. I want to just read really quick a reply that I sent to a retired U.S. Air Force officer that challenged us on Flat Earth and also 9/11. And the reason I'm bringing this forward is because of, well, you'll see at the end, but I said, "We thank you for your service to our country and nation. However, if you have not even determined that 9/11 was a false flag, you've got a very long way to go before you can even comprehend the extent of the quote-unquote global conspiracy of Darwinian heliocentrism. And while I respect your status and appreciate your commentary, it is not difficult at all to confirm for oneself that the Earth is in no way moving at any rate of speed, and that there is no curvature to be measured no matter how much effort one puts forth to try to verify it. Anybody can go to a long stretch of flat land or water and confirm that one can see objects, monuments, cityscapes, and even islands far beyond what science itself declares possible in measuring the rate of curvature, which is 8 inches per mile inversely squared according to the distance one is from the object divided by 12. I am so confident of this that I openly challenge any individual scientist, physicist, or organization anywhere $5,000 through our company, Sacred Word Publishing, to show us 2 witnesses which verify or confirm through repeatable experimentation that the Earth is moving or that there is curvature. I respectfully even extend this challenge to you as well, and I pray that you take me up on it." Mark?
Wait, challenge to who?
Anybody.
To anybody. Him, any
Nice.
organization, any astrophysicist, any NASA scientist, anybody.
Nice.
So you can use that on your show.
Open.
You can, you can use that on your show now, Mark.
Right.
Fantastic. Yeah, well, make
put it
sure.
out.
Yes, forward that to me. Definitely. That's awesome.
Yeah, I
that's,
most
that's
certainly
totally
will.
true.
It's
Yeah.
like your standing challenge for Jeffrey Grupp debate.
Oh yeah, again, there's so many different things to cover. I finally got a Jeffrey Grubb challenger. Finally, just a couple days ago.
Really?
Awesome.
Oh, wow.
It took forever, and the first one I got was a German physicist, but he wouldn't release his name. He wouldn't do it. And I said, look, there's no offense, but unless, Jeffrey Grubb's going to release his name and,
Right.
I've got my name out there. If you don't release your name, there's nothing I could do. Your credibility is non-existent. So honestly, and I wasn't trying to insult him. I go, look, you could be anybody at that point. If I did that, then just about anybody could call in. It's like, oh, I'm an astrophysicist for 10 years. Like, no, you haven't. Unless you tell me, your name and
Right,
confirm who
credentials.
you are. So I shot that one down. But the one that came up a couple days ago was an anthropologist out of the Netherlands. And I'm not going to give out his name yet, but what we're going to do is we're going to do it a little different because he's shy, and the idea was, he's going to be at a disadvantage because, like a lot of scientists, there's just too much information on the flat Earth side, and they just aren't prepared under short notice to deal with it. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a pre-record, but we're going to have them record each of their own statements. So it'd be kind of like an email correspondence, but instead of email, it's going to be all audio. So it's going to be 5 minutes of the scientist saying, okay, here's what I think, here's why, go. And that way there's no interruptions, there's no moderator. It's just basically 2 very scientific-minded individuals talking to each other without being face-to-face. And
Awesome.
Yeah, I think it's going to go very, very well, and at the very least, it will be it'll be civil enough and sophisticated enough that it may entice other scientists into getting into this, because this way they can prepare their arguments. At this point, the community is so confident in their arguments that I don't care how much time you give the scientists. Open book, no time limit. What do you got?
Right, exactly.
And because they've had that chance already. The Flat Earth Clues just turned 2 years old. Mm-hmm. And since then, I put the challenge. I mean, the Jeffrey Grubb challenge has been out there, 6-7 more months? I should probably look to see when I started that damn thing. Mm-hmm. And nobody wanted to go up against him. Yeah, you had some ticky-tack, Red's rhetoric and cool hard logic. Guys like that, I think, kind of would take it. But at this point, we need scientists, somebody that's willing to put themselves out there.
Mark, what I think about this, the way you're talking about the format, it's a much higher level of discourse from the side that we're usually looking at the debunks, and they just don't bring anything. So at least this might be something really worthwhile for us to listen to.
Oh yeah. Now, will they be talking above people's heads, and will they kind of digress into different roads where some people may not find it interesting? Yeah, maybe, but that's just scientists. That's one of the reasons why science is having a hard time addressing this is not necessarily because of the message that Flat Earth is bringing, but the way it's framed. They can't relate to it in any way, shape, or form. So this way, they might at least have a chance of getting their voice out there without feeling like they're going to be steamrolled, which they would. I mean, I have no doubt. You put me in front of a panel of scientists, I will tear them to shreds. And the reason is because they only have certain number of weapons to fight us with. They've only got 12, 15 questions. Mm-hmm. That's go ahead.
Sorry.
You got truth on your side.
This is something I emailed to you guys. I don't know if you saw it, but on the science side, I came across, I've got these Google alerts for Flat Earth and for NASA, and I'm thinking now that other Flat Earthers do as well. There was an article that was posted today on a science blog, and this gal, it's titled, hold on, I Come in Peace, Engaging with Life on a Flat Earth.
Right. And three or four people have sent that to me already.
Oh, okay. Well, I found 4 comments on there from Flat Earthers, and they were all very nice and thoughtful. But the thing was, she laid out some things, she's obviously biased against it. But she was considerate enough to say, my mind is bubbling with ideas, including the possibility of sending a GoPro camera up on a balloon and playing back the footage, some kind of science fair to show the Flat Earthers that it's really round. And so people responded to that. Well, first, you don't want to start with a GoPro camera. So it was really kind of a cool thing. So
I got an idea here, Mark. Let me run this by you really quick.
Sure.
I was thinking, with us offering, because money is most certainly an incentive for people to get involved and to actually try to debunk us. And, whenever you try to debunk and really research this topic, you're going to learn the truth of it, and you're going to go the other way. So what I was thinking is maybe we could get individuals like yourself and other people that are prominent within the Flat Earth community to not donate money, but to say, I would be willing to add this much to the $5,000 that we've already put up. Let's get a bunch of people say, I will guarantee this much as well. Let's make it a larger amount. Let's see if we can get it $25,000, as a challenge out there.
Good point.
That would attract a lot of attention, and it would, get these physicists and these, scientific-minded people interested in trying to really debunk this, and it'll engage them into looking at this topic.
I like it. I like it. You're right on there. And even if it wasn't, physicists are more interested in being published, but it will get the interest of people who love money and who believe in taking what they consider to be a dumb bet. It's like, I'll totally take a piece of that action. Totally. They will be the ones that contact the physicist and say, look, I will donate money to your department or do whatever if you can help me win this bet.
Exactly.
And that's good. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and we could get it even, who know, with just the amount of people out there now that are well versed and well researched, even with just the people that are on the panel with the Flat Earth Conference, if everybody just guaranteed, I'll give this much, let's pool it together and let's make this an open challenge,
Sure.
To the whole world. And, I think it would.
I like it. I like it. It's a great idea because the higher it gets, the more exposure it's going to get anyway.
Exactly.
So in fact, what's the threshold when a newspaper or a magazine says, "Well, it's 5,000, I'm not going to pay," but if it's 10 or 20, it's like, okay, this is this might be worth covering. Why not? And especially since it's a topic that is fresh in people's minds right now, and it's not going away.
Exactly.
So sure, why not? I totally dig that. It's the letter, what you wrote there was great, and that is there is no, and which is the reason why science is having a tough time, and why, even though the challenge is out there, why the Jeffrey Grupp challenge has taken so long for anybody to come forward is twofold. One is because I have a friend who I asked when I initially started this. I go, do you think we'll get any academics to come out against this? And she goes, no. She goes, it's going to be like pulling teeth. I go, why? And she goes, because look at, she showed me the footer to my to her signature, which has a whole bunch of academic credentials. She goes, you don't know how long. She goes, it takes a lot of money and a lot of time to get that sort of education. Do you want to be that guy that walks into something unprepared? Do you want to look bad with that sort of education? Because you got to remember, if somebody in mainstream science debates flat Earth, even if it's a draw, they lose.
Right.
Even if it's a close win, they lose. They have, because it's a no-brainer, slam dunk, flat Earth is stupid, science is always right. Science should kill it in 10 minutes. And if they don't, kind of like a prize boxer. We'll use a boxing reference. If that boxer doesn't knock him out in the first round, then everyone's going to start looking. It's like, okay, why hasn't he knocked him out in the first round? The longer you go, the worse it gets. If you get to a 15-round thing and the guy on the other side had no chance, it was 1,000-to-1 odds, then you start looking at that guy and going, okay, whoa, what's happening with him? And that's what the big reason why science is having a hard time stepping into the ring. The second part, which is a little more detailed, is that they only have, and I figured this out because I did, I haven't posted it yet. I did a debate with sort of like a Bill Nye version over in England recently. It was on video, and we had a producer that set up the whole thing, and it was me face to face, doing a live debate with this guy. And we realized after it was over, because the producer is really leaning towards the flat Earth side. He goes, I'm really surprised what science didn't bring to the table in this debate. And I said, well, that's because science has to follow a certain set of rules. Remember, science set up the rules of physics. They were the ones that set up the rules of the world. They were the ones that told us what all this was. And so they can only stay within those lines. They can only stay within those boundaries. We don't have to do that. And so they've only got, 12, 15 different points that they can bring up. And you know them all at this point, probably by heart. Sticks and shadows, Coriolis effect, ships going over the horizon.
Foucault's pendulum.
Yeah, Foucault's pendulum, the curved crescent to the moon, blah, blah, blah. We've heard them all. I haven't heard an original question in at least a year.
Right.
But that's all they've got. Whereas we just keep coming up with new things all the time. And not as fast as we used to, but they still keep happening. And they can't, we have, 100 weapons to their 20. And when you present that on the other side of the field, on the other side of the battlefield, you don't want to get into that fight. You just, because you're afraid of what might be asked. The guy, I was throwing him stuff when I got him to the whole core of the Earth, how that science makes leaps of faith. Right. And then I threw him a question, which it was just off the cuff question. It was like, find me something where science leaves the question out there instead of making a speculation, then printing that speculation, then not putting a disclaimer to it and just presenting it as fact. Find me something that's left open-ended in science. And he couldn't do it. He was stumbling. He was starting to stutter at that point. And and we started that with a whole core of the Earth argument, which was, science says it doesn't make leaps of faith like religion does. Right. And I say, of course they do. The core of the Earth is a perfect example. They every textbook, you can see the cross section of the Earth. Earth. They'll tell you
Gravity.
exactly what it looks like, but they've only drilled down 8 miles. So how do they know what it looks like? And they won't, there should be a disclaimer on those pages, but there aren't. And every kid knows what the core of the Earth looks like because that's what they show them.
Right.
And I go, fine, even if I gave you the huge benefit of the doubt, which I'm not going to say what the ground penetrating radar of the core of the Earth looked like, even though I don't know what radar you're talking about years and years ago, because those cross sections have been there for a long time. How are you doing the cross sections of every other planet in the solar system? How are you doing that? Based on ours? Is that what you're doing? Based on what's in the atmosphere? Is that how you're giving the cross section? You're showing me the cross section of Neptune, and you haven't even claimed to have landed anything on it. So how are you doing that? And anyway, I had him running so fast that that's why science is having a hard time. It was tough to even get this guy. So we're hoping that with the Jeffrey Grubb thing that we're talking, in fact, it started now. Hopefully, we'll get an audio thing over the weekend.
Well, hey, let's mention the other elephant in the room: gravity. The magic glue
gravity.
of gravity.
Oh, yeah. and he brought up gravity, and he goes, and here's the misconception that science has with flat Earth and gravity. They say, well, the gravity mass must be at the North Pole, and everything would be pulled towards the center of the map. And I go, no, gravity it's straight down. It's no different than what you would think it would be. And plus, I love using because Neil said it on on an interview on a video thing that he did recently, which was quite eloquent. He goes, science cannot tell you what gravity is. It can only tell you what it does, how it manifests. We can't tell you actually what it is. It's this magical, mystical force. And that's what I compare it. I go, you call the flat Earth gravity this magical thing. I go, what is it on a globe Earth? Oh, and I have to correct you, Kathy. People have been calling me out on this because, especially with what Eddie Bravo's been doing, because globe people will keep saying round versus flat. And we have to come back. It's like, look, a dinner plate is round. A pizza is round. Your tire on your car is round. It's either a globe or a sphere or a ball. Right. So that's what we try to throw back at them. It's like, look, those are the three terms you get. You don't get round. Mm-hmm. Round is what we can use round. You can't use round. But again, that's the simple programming that's because they think around the world. So they equate the two. So it is.
That's like the circle of the Earth.
The circle of the Earth. Well, the circle of the Earth, a perfect example. That's a circle. And you know the argument.
Yes, of course, right.
Well, and you mentioned Rob Skiba, and he put out a video yesterday as a challenge to who is it?
Which pastor?
Yeah, which one? Stephen Anderson, Kent Hovind, Jim Williamson was on that. As part of the challenge. So, nice. Doug Hamp. It was Doug Hamp.
I've never seen, I think Rob has finally turned the corner. I mean, when I saw Rob going on the offensive and talk about great timing, he was in Amsterdam when the Kyrie Irving thing came out. And I'm sure he had to hear it from over there. And it's like that point he knew. I think you talk about your destiny, your fate, or whatever, synchronicity, whatever you want to call it, divinely inspired. The fact that all these things are happening simultaneously is fantastic, because now the mainstream media doesn't know where to turn. Now, I will say this. Here's a really interesting point about the whole Kyrie Irving thing. And so he made every ESPN show there was and every internet publication there was. Literally everything. Everybody covered it, including CNN. However, the lowest common denominator, and by that I mean the mainstream television networks, NBC, ABC, CBS, Fox, and CNN, never ran a television story on it. That's interesting. You would think that one of those five, even as a joke, in lighter news or in sports news or whatever, everybody covered the All-Star game. Nobody on video covered. In fact, that clip where LeBron James was on video saying,
"Great,
that wasn't an American channel. That was a Spanish channel." That we grabbed that from. And the Americans, that the video of that was never released by the Americans.
The one where he said, "That's news."
That's news. Yeah, that's news. Yeah, that, I mean, honestly, you could not put a dollar value on LeBron James asking if the Earth is flat. You couldn't do it. I mean, the man has paid millions of dollars to endorse things that he has to approve. We couldn't, even if we had $10 million, he'd never say that on camera. And yet he did it voluntarily for free. It was mind-boggling, the amount of exposure and how people and the media didn't know where to turn. It's like, are we being trolled? Is Kyrie serious? And they're saying no, Kyrie was backtracking because of this one. There was a USA Today reporter that went after him, and he was angry because he was trying to be delicate because he had a whole bunch of people around him. And he was saying, look, kind of the effect of, you have a responsibility to all those younger people out there that listen to hang on every word you say, to not say dumb stuff. That's basically the essence of what he was asking there, or what he was having him do. You know, like, flat Earth is ridiculous. You shouldn't even be uttering those words. You have 3.5 million Twitter followers just on Twitter, not to mention the basketball world that looks up to you. I mean, you're a character in every basketball video game currently. Why are you doing this? And they went back and forth for a while. And what was the line that Kyrie said? He goes that science supports a globe model, but that's what he said. Supports, like that. Because that's what science puts out there. But it's not that science proves. He never said that, and nor did he ever clarify in any other interview that he did after that. And it's interesting. We'll have to see how the follow-up interviews come. That happen down the road. But he never backpedaled. Not the way that people wanted him to. Mm-hmm. Which is why Neil deGrasse Tyson came out. Why Bill Nye was on camera yet again. I don't know who else they could even bring out. They haven't asked Michio Kaku yet about this, which is kind of interesting.
Had you heard that there's a March for Science this when is it, on Earth Day? It's the first ever March for Science. And the article that I found of that, it's in the Wisconsin Gazette. They have a picture of that monkey to human.
Oh, the
Homo
evolution
sapien.
picture?
Yeah, they have that or that evolution picture, and it says "Science, not silence." And they equate that to the Trump administration being a flat Earth mentality.
It was also very good point, Kathy, because the Bill Maher show, they were trying to tie the two together. They were really trying to tie the whole Trump supporters to flat Earth supporters. I thought that was really interesting. It's like, why would you try to link these two together? Of course, that's only going to help us, because if you keep doing that, that's just free press.
And also with creationism. So it's something being set up against Christianity too, even though there's a large number of people that are not Christian that are waking up to the flat Earth.
Now, there will be, even though we've got a conference coming up in November, there will be some flat Earth mixers, I'm sure, this April, because last year we did it on, well, not last year. Was it last year, 2016? Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Wow, it was only a year ago. We did it on Earth Day. And I highly suspect that if this conference gets enough press, because remember, this is an organized thing. This is an actual thing that's happening. First time in 500 years that this thing, I know Europe did their sort of their thing, but I mean, it wasn't as big. And I didn't even know it happened until it happened. But I would imagine that there will be some science protesters there. It's people from the academic community, or who knows, grad students, from astrophysicists, whatever, that will try to, disrupt it in some way. Because especially if, maybe I can't reproduce, unfortunately, Comedy Central. Remember when Neil deGrasse Tyson went on television to drop the mic, that whole thing? Right. This gravity. You can't use that clip. Comedy Central blocks it. You cannot use the clip. So I'm wondering, though, that initial statement that he said during that, which was, there's a growing anti-intellectual movement happening in this country that, if left unchecked, could spell the end of democracy as we know it. I'm wondering if he keeps going down that road, if we get in some sort of organized, I mean, it's going to be small and pathetic, but an organized movement against flat Earth, maybe, before the conference. So. Yeah,
I'm sure. Well, I know they've got to be, the powers that be, they've got to be scrambling. And I think it's very interesting that you mentioned that the big five, as far as the media outlets, which basically control the other ones. They won't say anything about it, but yet they'll fly it on their flag in front of the United Nations.
Yeah, not on television. I thought it was interesting. As much as television has YouTube has replaced a lot of television, mainstream television is still considered the lowest common denominator. A lot of people still watch TV, and I'm included. So yeah, maybe they're holding off until this is the next level, and until a show comes out. But we'll talk about that in the next
Yeah,
thing.
we're just a few seconds out, but yeah, lots going on, and yeah, most certainly we'll cover the conference and all that when we get back. We'll be right back, everyone.
Okay.
This is the Truth Frequency Radio Network.
We are TFR. Truth Frequency Radio.
Heaven is like a roof to the material world and will serve as the floor of the new world. It is by nature shining and glorious, and it is the dwelling place of the invisible hosts. When God spread out this firmament, he brought up above it a third part of the waters, and above these is the heaven of light and of the luminaries. I wanted to ask you, Mark, because I have a lot of friends that are involved, like military and working in high-level Black Ops projects. Well, not a lot of friends, but some. And they're totally scientific and military-minded. And I always want to send them the different interviews and videos that you've done with all of these artillerists, specialists, Navy, flight, and all, submarine commanders, all that. But anyways, I had asked you a long time ago when we did interview if you had ever considered just taking very small clips of each of those interviews and putting them together into one so that all of that can be all located in one video and in one place. And I think that would just be fantastic for, to present to these military type people or these scientific minded people to have all of those testimonies confirmed in unison in short clips in one place. And if you had thought or considered doing that.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. And I was looking over the list because the list is pretty big, and there's, each show is 2 hours long, and It takes a while to get to them. Up until recently, I haven't had the time, but I will make the time to build this. I think it's a good idea. I don't know how long I'm going to make it, but I'll see if I can find the best parts. And because I'm probably I was thinking about kind of doing something like that for the convention anyway, because I'm going to have to do a summary of the testimony shows for the conference coming up in the fall. Cool. So it's a good idea. I like it.
Yeah, I think it'll be profound. I mean, because all of these different testimonies, and even if you did just short 1-2 minute clips from each one of them, would just be astounding. Yeah. So
yeah, that's good. It's going to take a while to chew through them because I haven't heard them myself in quite some time. But yeah, I can as I kind of get through and settle down, because there will be a little bit of a lull coming up. I would imagine that I'll see what I can do.
Or maybe one of your listeners, Because I know you have a lot of people that love your work and are probably even more familiar with it than you are, because we always never have time to listen to our own interviews,
Yeah.
And so, that might be something.
Good idea. Yeah. I will see what I can do. That's an excellent idea.
Yeah. It's a great resource. I share that with people a lot all the time because, that's experts and they're questioning people who are new or have just barely touched the surface of it. They want to know. They want to know. And I think that's a great way to introduce. I mean, there's so much wonderful stuff out there, but it's hard to sift through these days. Yeah. There's a flooding going on, a lot of mirror going on too.
Oh yeah, there's so many videos coming out. In fact, a couple things. One is interesting about that list. The testimony shows. In fact, I made the playlist on YouTube, which is the testimony shows of subject matter experts, the people that have contacted me in different fields that have said, yeah, we're absolutely on board with your flat earthing, everything, all branches of the military, engineers, air traffic controllers, pilots, flight instructors. Take your pick. Surveyors, one of my favorites. But what's interesting to me is not only have none of those guys, because it's been a while now, not only have none of those guys recanted on their testimonies, but nobody has come out against them. And I would have thought at the very least you would have gotten somebody especially from the armed forces, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Merchant Marines, somebody would have come forward, the Army, and said, wow, no, I'm an artillery guy and I can tell you're absolutely wrong. Nobody's come out against them. And that every month that goes by that nobody contacts me trying to refute these guys, then it just dry. The cement is so hardened now on my side. It's like, well, you guys got nothing. That's why science is going to lose this, because it's if you haven't come out by now and done it, and I of course said this a year ago, if you haven't come out by now, then it doesn't exist. We haven't missed anything.
And isn't it something that with 500 years under their belt, they wouldn't have had a storehouse to go to of information?
Yeah.
I mean,
well, again, what's different about this? What makes this different? People in the mainstream media, when they started delving into the Kyrie thing and the Richard Jefferson and B.O.B. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot that B.O.B. came back.
Right. Yeah, I saw that.
He came out of hiding, and when I saw that, I had to replicate it and reproduce it because he was on Hot 97 FM. Right. That's got a mere 1 million subscribers. He came back on. And that was what's significant about this, and I don't want to lose my point here, is that he had not done an interview since he came out since he did his flat earth thing. He made his album, he made his single Flatline, and did his thing against Neil deGrasse Tyson, and Neil deGrasse Tyson came out, and the media world wanted to interview him. I'm sure his phone was ringing off the hook. Literally his phone was blowing up. And he didn't talk to anybody. There was no Time Magazine, New York Times, everybody ran a story on this, and nobody did an interview. And all of a sudden, Kyrie comes out, and B.O.B., what do you know? He comes back and goes on Hot 97 FM. Did he
came
do
out
well?
Of flat Earth retirement.
Yeah, came out of Flat Earth, even though it was only a year. But the thing was, he did horribly. You were working against 3 radio shows. Now, at least I know why he doesn't do a lot of interviews. He is not good at them. I'm not trying to pick on, if he's listening, I'm sorry, man. You are not good at interviews. You do not think quickly enough. You've got radio show hosts. He had 3 people in the room there, and they were snapping, just popping stuff off at him. And he just couldn't respond quickly enough. And so, yes, I will. The silver lining here is, like, look, the people had 1 million subscribers and he was talking about flat earth. I'm sure we got conversions out of it. No question. You put Eddie Bravo in that room and he would have run that room. He would have run the freaking show. He wouldn't have blinked an eye, but it wasn't that kind of station. Eddie Bravo wouldn't have never been in that station. But the point is that any bad publicity, even any publicity, is good publicity. In this case, the fact that nobody in the flat earth can walk into a radio station with 1 million subscribers right now. Well, we probably could now, eventually, but he could walk into any radio station, Grammy nominated rapper, and talk to people about this. And he did talk about it for 15, pushing 20 minutes, but he did terrible. So anyway, where's I going with this? Oh yeah, science. I have no idea where my point was.
Well, don't forget about the moon tourist mission, SpaceX. Now maybe good.
Let me wind up on this. Okay. Somebody sent me, and again, everyone sends the stuff to me, and I love it. It's like, Mark, I don't know if you've seen this yet, and it's been on the internet for 6 minutes.
Right.
I do that too.
It's like, of course I've seen it. No, I hadn't seen it. SpaceX comes out, and they ran a story where Okay, well, let me frame this. After they blew up a couple rockets last year, they come out and said, we're going to colonize Mars down the road. And everyone says, yeah, fine. I mean, everyone hears that story, and it's like, we've heard this. NASA talks stories like, oh, one day we'll colonize Mars and go to Jupiter and all this other crap. And people say, well, SpaceX says they're going to go to Mars. Fine, you want to say you're going to Mars. You're not going to it now, even if you could go, because you can't solve the fuel problem. You want to know why you can't go to Mars right now, even if you believe that Mars was a planet far away, is that there's no way to get back. So the whole Martian movie with Matt Damon, impossible. The
Don't
red
forget
planet.
Van Allen. The Van Allen radiation belts.
If you can get past the Van Allen radiation belt, even if you could make it to Mars, you can't get back because there's not enough gas to get back. Meaning it took all that gas just to launch you off of Earth in Earth's gravity just to get to Mars. That's if you even believe in the solar system model, all right? So let's just throw that out the window right now. The Mars thing is, with today's technology, even if the solar system was what we are told by mainstream science, cannot be done. All right. SpaceX then comes out just recently, and in fact, I should look up and see when the frickin' story was, because let me say, it was not that long ago. It was a week ago. SpaceX comes out and they said, we're going to send 2 tourists on a slingshot capsule around the moon and back, safely back to Earth, and we're doing it next year, 2018. A year from now, SpaceX says they're going to do this, and I almost broke the laptop in front of me. I was it was so outlandish. So
You're laughing so hard.
I think people get mad and irritated about hearing about flat Earth, and I understand that. But making a claim like this was the most it worked for us. I mean, it will absolutely help us in the long run, right? Because you're making a claim that goes against everything that NASA's been trying to hide for the last 50, 60 years. Right. Meaning, because it's like, okay, the first question was, what mythical spacecraft are you going to use to get to the moon and back? There's right. no... The Saturn V rocket that was used in the Apollo program, flawlessly, I may add, has never even been duplicated since then. And we'll use the Falcon system. Okay, have you tested this? No. Okay, so you're going to use an untested booster. What capsule are you going to use? Because even NASA is not sending anything through the Van Allen radiation belt with its Orion capsule. So what capsule are you going to use? Also untested. In fact, not even built as far as I know. And then, okay, you're going to also, so in addition with an untested booster and an untested capsule, you're going to attempt a mission which hasn't even been faked in 50 years. And on top of all these things, which pose amazing statistical improbabilities, you're going to do it with amateur. You're going to send 2 people up that have no business being up in space at all. They're just rich people, right? And on top of that, people have forgotten this. You're going to do it in a year. And even there, in their article, there's going, our timeline is somewhat aggressive. It's like, somewhat aggressive? Dude, you're also attempting something that NASA's never done, because you're sending 2 people that are tourists, right? So what is who's going to be taking care of these people? You're going to take at least a minimum of 2 real astronauts. That's 4 people, and probably 3 astronauts, which makes it 5. No capsule has even been faked with more than 3. It's always 3 guys, right? Which means the capsule's bigger. At the very least, it's going to be 4. If you think you're going to do it with 1 astronaut and 2 amateurs, that's beyond, that is some of the worst writing I've ever heard of. So you're taking at least minimum 4 people, probably 5. That capsule system doesn't exist even now. When are you going to test any of this stuff? Anyway, you think you're going to do this by next year? No. This is just one of the most desperate things. I initially thought it was because they were trying to up their stock price. And then I find out that SpaceX is even a public company. So all these stories, like, why are you doing this? You benefit not even in the slightest. The only people you're helping is NASA. So, and doing this, okay, here's where it gets interesting. All these things that I mentioned make it statistically so unlikely that again, to even suggest it, nobody in their right mind would you climb onto this spacecraft? I don't care if I've got $20 million, $50 million. Would you actually even pretend? Because nobody's going on the top of a rocket. It's going to be completely faked. But here's where it gets interesting. You're going to be doing something that cannot be faked, not accurately. You cannot do this. There's a reason why, and you guys can look this up, why the JAXA, J-A-X-A footage from some years ago, 10 years ago now? Oh, has it been 10? Pretty close. 10 years ago. JAXA supposedly sent HD cameras in a probe around the moon and back, and the footage was so terrible that mainstream media didn't release it. They didn't show it on television. It was corny. It was bad resolution, and plus it was missing some things. One thing was when the probe was sent there and back, you should have, again, it's digital media, you should have HD footage of the Earth, which we've never ever seen in the history of mankind, the Earth getting smaller in the rear view mirror. You know, where you from the pad, the Earth forms, the curvature forms as you lift off the pad, and then as you're leaving Earth, the Earth is in the distance, and of course, because it takes a while to get to the moon, the Earth should be rotating on its axis, and the weather should be morphing, and you get to see all this. Right? You'll get to see all the trajectory and everything in real time. The JAXA footage didn't show this. And you're saying that the SpaceX footage should, because now you have no excuse. There should be 4K cameras, redundant 4K cameras, because they're multiple, super cheap, super small, and super reliable. They should be everywhere. And they're not going to be. In the rearview mirror, you should have multiple cameras. On the forward side, the side that's going to the moon, we've never had unedited footage where a probe or whatever it is heading towards the moon, and you're going to slingshot around it. There should be footage everywhere.
Live stream, too.
Live stream running all the time. And you're basically painting yourself into a corner to fail because the mainstream media is going to want all this stuff. You're telling me that SpaceX is going to send these tourists around the moon and mainstream media, CNN, is going to basically run a live feed for hours and hours? Of course they will, because it's never been done. You're asking them to produce things that have never happened ever in the history, even in NASA, the history of NASA since 1958. None of these things have been produced. And SpaceX is going to hit them all in one fell swoop, including going to the moon. It is outrageous that they would even suggest such a thing. Right. And for me, it's just a desperate attempt to get people to use just more globe reinforcement tool, but it's reckless because you're putting a timeline on it that's unrealistic. So next year when it fails, there's only two things that's going to happen. It's going to be kicked down the road because of mechanical problems or whatever. Right. Or you're going to blow up the rocket on the pad or something big's going to happen by then. Personally, I think we're hitting critical mass already. So I think them talking about it in 2018 is because they know that by 2018 this thing's going to be blown wide open anyway. So I was just floored by the point they mentioned this, because again, you still have to choose. SpaceX doesn't actually have, from what I understand, even the stuff they've been advertising, everything they've sent to the ISS and everything has been more or less unmanned. People aren't actually going up in SpaceX. So there's no SpaceX astronaut program as far as I know. So I mean, you have to use
what reputable astronaut is going to want to babysit two rich guys that have, no real serious formal training to be up there.
Exactly. Absolutely right. It is there's so many holes in this plot. I love plot lines and I watch a lot and I absorb a lot of media. This is terrible writing. You are setting yourself up. You're basically writing yourself into a corner, because once you get to a certain point next year, you're either failing miserably. You can kick it down the road a little ways. And let's not forget about something that's happening right now, which I didn't even really make a video on, but I talk about, and that's the Google X Space Challenge. Do you guys know about that thing?
You mentioned it.
Oh my God. Google X Space Challenge, $20 million first prize for any Earth organized space program to send a probe landed on the moon and beam back images. It's happening right now. But the catch is, again, aggressive timeline is you have to launch before the end of 2017. This thing is so people, you wait by the time the conference rolls around, you're going to start seeing the first of them. And that is 5 programs have accepted the challenge, 2 from the United States, one from Europe, one from India, one from Japan. And it's perfect. It's above board. In fact, one of the boosters, and it's interesting, all the companies that are involved are only making the probe. The boosters are all being made by people that are already sending supposed stuff up there, including one of my favorites, Interorbital. The people that I interviewed, I wish I would have recorded it, with a German guy back in the end of 2015, where they're just rocket makers. So they're putting these probes on there, and you know how again, you want some creative writing. So the 5 people are going to launch rockets. I would imagine that one of them is going to blow up on the pad. One of them is going to be lost right out of Earth orbit. One of them is going to crash smack into the moon. One's going to land on the moon and malfunction and not beam back, and there'll be one left, and that will land a probe and beam back such grainy pictures and then it'll finally fail. That's what I expect to happen. If I was going to write it,
all the probes that finally get to Mars and then they lose, contact with them.
Oh, right. Anyway, so that's the Google Space Challenge, and that's happening right now, where they're building these probes. They're going to launch them by the end of the year. Yeah. So winner gets 20 million. Second prize I think is 10. Third is 5. What are you kidding? Plus that's going to be interesting. Again, you're going to be breaking the rules. You send a probe there, you're not going to be able to beam back any reliable images. And you're saying, no, that's a wild speculation. Oh, yeah? China supposedly has had a probe up there since, late 2013? They supposedly have a Mars rover on the moon. Well, I'll say rover. Rover on the moon since 2013, 2014. What images have they bounced back? Why aren't they pointing at the Earth and sending images? You don't see crap. Why aren't they rolling around the Sea of Tranquility, which is where all the American dune buggies are and their capsules and all their leftover, all their tracks. In fact, out of these probes, look, the only interesting thing that would even be on the moon would be the leftover crap that NASA had. So why not send the probe to that place? Why that's, if you're going to send your 5 probes, that's where you want to send them. But it's interesting because when I talked to Interorbital and they were doing when they were doing the initial SpaceX challenge and the Virgin Galactic, they were told by NASA to deliberately not land in the Sea of Tranquility. And I thought that was interesting. Or anywhere close. Like even when you land, you don't go anywhere near the Sea of Tranquility. It's like, why? You'd think that would help you guys. Go there, take pictures and stuff. Exactly. Take pictures of freaking moon buggies.
It for us, right?
It was just mind-blowing. Yeah, there's been so much stuff that has been happening. I'm just looking through the list, see if I'm missing things. Because I can only make videos on so many things, and yet there's still more. The conference, by the way, I should probably let's bring up the conference real quick because I know we have a few minutes to the break. So the conference on November 9th and 10th, you have plenty of time. The VIP tickets sold out within a week of that thing already. So now we got general admission to worry about, which means most people aren't probably won't buy into it until late summer or early fall. But it is the lineup of the people that are going is great so far. It's going to be a fantastic time. I cannot wait. I'm humbled that they asked me, and I'm doing the keynote luncheon at the first dinner, and then I'm doing the video awards show with Patricia Steer at the end of the thing. The 2 people were asked that so far I've declined, which is interesting. One, it shouldn't surprise anybody. One is Eric Dubé, who said he was going to be too busy. We'll see about that. I'm still hoping that he changes his mind and goes because look, he's still been a real benefit to the community, and he's got 80,000 subscribers and all that. The other guy was Matt Boylan, otherwise known as Matt Powerland, and he hasn't accepted yet. We'll see if he goes, but it is going to be it's going to be the critical mass moment if it hasn't happened already, because here's what's going to happen. You're going to have media showing up there, lots of media. And I would hope lots of media, because they're going to expect a circus. They're going to expect like a sideshow. They're going to go there expecting people in costume, with actual tin hats and
Comic-Con.
Yeah, they're going to expect complete weirdness, like it's going to be Comic-Con, or a UFO convention, and they're going to be rudely surprised when it comes to this, because they're the group everyone's pretty straight-laced. There's not a lot of really eccentric people. I mean, Flat Earth asshole is a little out there, but I would imagine the only people that'll be controversial will be the people protesting or people that'll come just to try to troll it.
Right.
Although that's probably not advisable.
Disrupt, yeah.
These people are the smart people in the room, as far as I'm concerned. They're the people who are thoughtful, who are willing to investigate, and they take the abuse, and they do it with kindness for the most part.
I can't yell at, and people I still have interviewed the one I did for Western. They said, are you really believe this? And I can't get offended when people ask me that, because look, nobody believes this in the beginning. Everyone tries to debunk it. Everybody failed, and that's why, again, and it's going to be a real positive energy feel to the whole convention, because it's not like 9/11 everyone's going to be angry and fists raised and all this. That's not going to be the case here. Everyone's going to so many people are excited about going. I'm just excited just to meet, be in a big room with a whole bunch of people that share the same thoughts.
Right. And face to face, finally for once.
Oh yeah.
It's like
I finally get to meet
Christmas
everybody.
time, the family gets together for dinner when everybody's scattered their whole lives. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I'm so thrilled that they're doing this. And Robbie, I think, is going to do a great job. The man, I don't think, is going to sleep for the last month before this thing.
And he'll be previewing his next science system.
Right, absolutely. So yeah, it cannot wait. Anyone that's out there, go to FE2017.com. It's going to be there's a lot of great information out there. I'm going to do a promo literally every week on my channel on TFR. I'm going to make a video.
No hate, no hype, no fear. We are TFR, your protection from deception.
And the days Uriel showed me the angel whom the Lord of glory appointed over all the luminaries of heaven, and in the world, that they might rule in the face of the sky, and appearing over the earth, become conductors of the days and the night. All right, welcome back, everybody, for final segment. We have as special guest Mark Sargent here. And Mark, if you would, go ahead and give out all your website contact and your show times again, and then let's talk about the Flat Earth Conference. And
Sure. The show, Strange World is on Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 Eastern. Enclosedworld.com is the main website. The book is called Flat Earth Clues, and you can get it in all different formats. But honestly, all you have to do is type in Flat Earth Clues either in any search engine or in YouTube, and you'll find me. I mean, sometimes I like to give out Mark K. Sargent, but you'll get to my stuff anyway. And I don't really mind. Most of my videos are Creative Commons license anyway. The two biggest hitting hit counts for videos right now in Flat Earth are on channels that I had nothing to do with. The two videos that were Flat Earth Clues mashups were the videos are called, one's called They Are Hiding God with the Greatest Lie Ever, and the other one's called Under the Dome Full Documentary. And I think they're both at 2.5 million hits each.
Wow.
So I know. Who would have thought? And these guys just took it because Creative Commons license, I'll monetize it. And those guys made a little chunk of change off of that.
Right? Yeah.
Good for them. So great. I mean, because of them, I actually had to make a mashup of my own. I called it the Flat Earth Director's Cut, Flat Earth Clues Director's Cut. Yeah. And that's on my channel, but I don't care which one you go to. Either way, I still get so many emails and phone calls off those others that Which is sad because they don't know where else to go from there. They eventually they just type in. Eventually, they type in flat Earth, and they will find the wave of stuff that's out there. Oh, I should probably mention this if you don't mind. There was something that was interesting that happened, which was there was a statistics squish. That's what we call it in the gaming world, but it happened in YouTube, which was when you used to go into YouTube and you typed in flat Earth without any filters set up whatsoever. It would come up at like 7 million or so. My prediction for 2016 was that we would hit 5 million, and we hit like 7.5 million, which was amazing. Nice. Relevant search results. And then what happened was YouTube changed their algorithms when it came to flat Earth, and you could see it fluctuate wildly to where all of a sudden in a 12-hour period, and I saw it happening, I documented it and made a video about it, actually a couple of videos about it, where it went from 7 million to 4 million in a 12-hour period. And they did that, in my opinion, to kind of curb the enthusiasm because I was hyping up the numbers as much as anyone. Look, we were tracking as well as any mainstream topic that was out there, with the exception of music videos like Taylor Swift or Lady Gaga and stuff like that. But it was interesting when I put that out there, Bob from Globebusters contacted me. He goes, it's really interesting. If you go into YouTube and you type in flat Earth, every other filter now will show 4 million. But if you sort by upload date, it shows the real number, which was at that time 15 million. Wow. And they never fixed it. As a matter of fact, now because of the whole Kyrie Irving thing, it's up to 16.3 or something like that, which is huge. I mean, that's mainstream numbers right there. And which is why I did a series of videos called Flat Earth, the World's Secret Guilty Pleasure, which is why I try to entice producers. I go, look, we've made mainstream numbers without a freaking dime of media money. There's no marketing dollars put into this. Not only that, if you go into any search engine, just blind search engine without anything that's in the browser history or anything, you type in Earth is or the Earth is, it always comes up flat now. That's the first first thing on the list. And that's just a side effect of what the community has done. We didn't even try to do that. I mean, there are marketing people, the world's best potato chip. There are people that use Google AdWords and pay huge amounts of money to internet marketing firms to try to get things to show up higher in the internet search engine. And we're up there without doing anything. Just because people just, as you know, when you get into the topic, you just keep hitting it. And I mean, I type in flat Earth into YouTube and hit the search button probably a couple hundred times a day minimum. And multiply that by a whole bunch of people. It's right. Fantastic to watch. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that the numbers, you want to see the real numbers of what flat Earth is, just type in, at least until they fix it, type in flat Earth, go to upload date. You'll see that's on the far right hand side. Anyway, Bob from Globebusters says that's what he always searches by because it shows you up until the minute what the latest videos are. So if something came out 2 minutes ago, that's how you'll find it.
I found too, setting Google alerts for flat Earth and also for NASA. I hit on some unusual ones that I don't normally get from the channels that I'm sub to and from just looking in the search filter. So that's another good thing for people who are really interested in the research.
Oh, yeah. It's for me, I have to do it because I try to stay, again, on the pulse of what's happening out there. And it's fantastic. I've got my fingers in so many little different things. The license plate thing. Oh, my Lord. Is that taken off in the last year? I mean, again, you never know when it comes to people because, as you know, I had a It's Flat license plate, made it my banner, my background. It's my banner on my YouTube channel. I turned it into a giant poster banner behind me when I do video interviews, and nobody did anything about it. Then all of a sudden, a guy from Montana says, "Oh yeah, I got a It's Flat license plate too," and then everybody just came in. It was the first follower syndrome, where all of a sudden now I've got so many that I'm having to pick longer songs just to squeeze all the plates in. In fact, I just got 4 more this week. From what was it for? Connecticut, Kentucky, New Mexico, Indiana, all just this week.
Didn't you say there are a lot more in Canada too?
Yeah. The Canadian now, granted, there's only 15 Canadian provinces, at least as far as I know. But in fact, I don't have them in front of me. Let's see: Ontario, Alberta, Saskatchewan, because Canada can do personalized plates. They replicate what we do. So, but in Europe, that's not the same. They don't do personalized plates. Now, they do personalized plates, otherwise known as vanity plates, down in Australia. So let me look here. Canada, yeah, Saskatchewan, Alberta, and Ontario. So 3 out of the 15 in Canada. And I think we're up to, what is this? 4, was it 7, 28? We're pushing, I think we just got past the halfway point in the United States. So 27, 28 in the States.
Nice.
And it's incredible. And that's just the license plate thing. And that it's great because it resonates with people because they see this. And once you can get past that, because a lot of people are nervous about putting themselves out there. They are. And I don't recommend that people go to their family members, sit down at the dinner table and wait till they have a mouthful of food and say, the ultimate spit take and say, by the way, I'm into flat earth now. Right? By the way, I'm shooting heroin this week. You might as well say that because people freaking lose it.
I like your analogy to Fight Club, that a flat club, the first thing. Rule is you
don't talk about Flat Club. And I just came up with that in the first week that I was doing this because I was doing it myself. And what that means is, for people who don't know or understand, Fight Club, first of all, from the greatest year of movies ever, 1999. But the Fight Club, what they did, it's not that you didn't talk about Fight Club. It's that you chose very carefully who you talk to about it. You do not walk up to somebody. The biggest mistake that flat earthers make is they forget how long it took for them to get their head around it. If it took you 4 or 5 days before you became a flat earther, and I'm being generous here, some people take much longer, like me, then all of a sudden they forget about it and they get so excited and it's like, oh, I'm going to convince this guy in 2 hours. No, you're not. You're not going to convince your family over dinner. You're not going to convince somebody over a cup of coffee. All you can do is put the seed in their head and let them work it out for themselves. Because the harder you push, the angrier they're going to get in most cases. I have seen marriages get on the borderline now. Bad things can happen. I've gotten email after email. It's like, oh yeah, my brother doesn't talk to me anymore. My mother doesn't return my calls anymore. Right. Dude, it's because you got to come at them sideways. And of course, you size up the person. If they're not a conspiracy person, my sister believes everything. It's from God to Fox News to her. If it's not on Fox News, it didn't happen. Right. Plain and simple. Honestly, NBC News could run a story and say that there was an atomic weapon accident somewhere in Nevada is now gone, right? If NBC News ran it, she wouldn't believe it. She'd actually have to wait till Fox News said it.
Oh my goodness.
So bringing up flat Earth to her does no good. There's nothing I can do there. Mm-hmm. So when but the point was, the plates it's a great thing because people relate. They see their plate in their state and it has sort of a visceral response. Like when I finally saw the Colorado plate, it's like, oh wow. At one point I was thinking, man, I thought I had that plate at some point because I had the Colorado plate for 20 years, but it wasn't. It's flat. It was my last name. I've just gotten so used to Colorado plates. So when everybody sees all these other plates, it really resonates in them, and they say, oh hey, it's there's a lot of people that are into this. For every person, and whatever points you want to make, I'm not going to rant too much longer on this, which is,
oh, you're good.
For every person that's out there that's making videos, there are how many more that want to make videos that don't know how? And how many people that are afraid to make videos because they don't want their name tied to it, because they're afraid of what their family might find out, or they're just on the sidelines and they're waiting for it to get bigger. And you got to understand, the Kyrie Irving thing, that's no accident. This is a guy, the people around him, the conspiracy guys, and I should have seen this coming. Professional athletes, most notably baseball and basketball players, they make a lot of road trips. NFL football, they only make 7 road trips a year, something like that. Maybe 8, unless you're going to the playoffs. Basketball and football, they're flying a lot of planes. They're on the road a lot, which means they're watching a lot of internet nowadays.
Right.
Which means they're watching a lot of YouTube. It does not take long, before you go into the dark corners of the YouTube world, which is the conspiracy world.
Yeah.
And so for every one of people like Kyrie, there's a lot more out there that want to talk about it that haven't. I would imagine now, and I've got to have to find the stat. If it was Joe Rogan that put it out recently, he may have done that in front of Neil deGrasse Tyson, where he said something to the effect like that 6% of the American population believe the world is flat. And if that was true, and you're thinking, well, 6% isn't that much. It's like, well, no, that's 6% reported. Yeah, that's 6% that are actually willing to admit it online.
Right.
So,
yeah, totally.
and even, let's say if it was 6%, right? Every percentage point in the United States is, what is it? If it's 300 million, every percentage point is a million people. No, it's 3 million people.
Wow,
so
yeah, that's a lot.
So 6%, that's 18 million people right there. That's a lot of people. That's just willing to admit it. That's millions of people that are out there in the community, which is why, the channels are just, the subscribers keep going. I mean, Rob Skiba's doing a bang up job. People are getting a lot of subscribers now. Jared, I'm not even in the top 10 of subscribers in the Flat Earth world, which is amazing. I mean, I've done the most interviews, but I mean, Globebusters, for example, he's not on TFR or doing anything like that. He's been doing hangouts the last 3 weeks, basically ever since the Kyrie thing came out. He's averaging 1,100 people a hangout.
Wow, awesome.
They're doing a live stream. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's excellent.
For any topic in YouTube. And this is Flat Earth. He's doing this with Flat Earth, a show literally called Globebusters. And you can feel that even though you look at the chat room, there's only, 40, 50, maybe 100 people making comments in chat. Who are those other 900 people? Who are these people?
Back listening.
And where are they, what influence? It's only a matter of time now, again, where it's here's what kind of happened. Things happen in stages. The ripple effect from the Kyrie Irving thing is going to take a little bit because the media, once you had the knee-jerk reaction of every sports show talking about it, then you've got the newspapers. They're going to look at this thing going, wait a minute, didn't this happen last year? And why is this a thing again? And the fact that he didn't backpedal, and will somebody else come out and talk about it? Once once more articles start coming out about it, and it'll start ratcheting up to a whole next level. And then you wait. I mean, this year, 2017, the year of critical mass, I have no doubt that it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder. I mean, look at all the stuff that's just happened in the last week. The people that are calling into shows now, Alex Jones considering it. Nowadays, Joe Rogan seriously talking about Coast to Coast brought up the Kyrie. Here's an interesting thing. So Coast to Coast never does a thing again after my interview with them. And when Kyrie thing came out, then they made a plug back to my show that I was on with them because now they have it as a reference point. See, we actually talked about it in 15. It's like, yeah, but you thought it was a joke when I first called you.
Right.
He thought his producer was was having fun with them. It's like, nope, it wasn't. But yeah, I half waited. It hasn't happened. I made a prediction. It did not come true, which was part of it was because the Oscars screwed me up. Oh, let me bring that. I want to bring
Saturday
that up.
Night Live. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I predicted Saturday Night Live, but Saturday Night Live didn't happen that weekend.
Oh.
Because of the Oscars. The Oscars, all the Saturday Night Live cast members were in Los Angeles hanging out at the Oscar parties. So Saturday Night Live was a rerun that weekend. And that's why I was so hoping. And by the time it got to the next week, it didn't. They didn't talk about it, which was interesting. Because what they also didn't talk about, and I got to go into this for a little bit, which is the probability. There was an interesting article in the New Yorker magazine, and I don't know if you caught this, Kathy, that when I did my little rant, I read this article from New Yorker.
Oh, yes.
Which was, he was talking about basically that the Matrix was starting to break down. There was something wrong. Some things that seem to be near impossible in this world right now are starting to happen on a frequent basis. And I'll give you some examples. I'll give you the examples. He didn't bring it up flat Earth, but he should have. He really, really should have. And here's what I mean. Something's happened in the last 3 months, a series of events that normally, statistically speaking, because I'm a statistic junkie, statistically speaking, should have never happened. One, of course, was the Donald Trump thing. Trump being elected president, a reality television star, a guy who absolutely has no business, who should have been in politics years ago but wasn't, was elected president, even though all the pollsters in the that night, for sure, everybody, my mother, a diehard Republican, thought for sure Hillary was going to win that night. She did not. Trump won. And it wasn't even close. It wasn't like they had to do a recount or anything like that. Mm-hmm. It was
landslide.
Well, might as well have been.
Yeah.
And so probability. Okay, that was the first one. The second one was, oh crap, what was it? It wasn't the Oscars. I'll have to come back to the Oscars. Oh, the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl, which was the American football program where the Atlanta Falcons were blowing them out. No team in the history of the Super Bowl. Two things happened that night, which had never happened before in the history. No team had ever come back from a loss that far to win, from that many points back down to win, and an overtime has never ever happened in the history of the Super Bowl. Both things happened. And when I watched it, and the guy was saying it was like somebody turned off. It's like somebody turned off whoever was running the controller for the Atlanta Falcons. Yeah. Let's turn them off. That was it. They every once in a while you hear stories of a kid and their father playing each other, and the father's so terrible that what the kid does is after halftime he just gives the controller to his dad and takes the other one and plays himself to see if he beat himself the second half. That's what it felt like. Never ever happened. Immediately after that, the Oscars. Never in the history, thousands and thousands and thousands of trophies given out over 80 years, right? Envelopes.
Oh, that was crazy.
Envelopes. Not only, and people that miss this, if you don't know what happened, if you're living under a rock, the Best Picture winner, La La Land, won it, got up on stage, were giving their speeches for a full 2 minutes. The producers run down there, they say, no, the wrong envelope was read. It's not La La Land, it's Moonlight. They had to kick La La Land off the stage and bring on the Moonlight. It's never happened before in the history. I can understand if it was for like a small category. Best Picture, the ultimate award of the entire show, where everyone should be double and triple and quadruple checking everything, and they actually, why didn't the producers immediately run on stage like 2 seconds later and say, look, we already know who
didn't. Yeah, they let them give a speech.
Yeah, those things happened, and the world's best point guard for the National Basketball Association comes out and says that flat Earth is real. All these things happened in a 3-month span, and statistically, none of them should have happened ever, and they all happened simultaneously. It's almost like if you believe in a plot line or why things happen, things are happening. It's almost like you're getting the impossible ready for people. Mm-hmm. Where you're conditioning them for things
bizarro world.
Yeah, so weird that that nothing should surprise anybody anymore. Whatever comes down, these things were so I shouldn't say monumental, but they were big enough and so out there that nowadays, I mean, literally, if somebody, I tend to downplay things anyway sometimes. If whatever news story, whatever big thing, UFO, if a UFO lands tomorrow in London, tomorrow morning, I am actually not going to freak out. I'll look at it and go, yeah, sure, why not? Why wouldn't it?
We saw this coming.
Well, and NASA's putting out crazy story after crazy story, and nobody questions it. It's like, oh yeah, sure. Like with the tourism around the moon, we'll just go la-di-da around the moon.
NASA's stories recently have been, they're every day now. And that I did predict that. I said, look, they have to. That's their only defense is just keep every globe conditioning as fast as you can. But the stories are so...
They've got hiring for graphics artists all the time. Yeah. And writers.
Yeah, it's
jobs.
It's silly stuff that they're putting out. And SpaceX, I don't know what Virgin Galactic's doing, if they're doing anything anymore, but it's amazing, the stuff. So yeah, and we're in the middle of March, and at this point, so many cool things have happened that I'm just rolling with it at this point. I mean,
let me say again, fe2017.com. That's the site, right? For the conference.
Oh yeah. Right. fe2017.com. It's fe2017.com. It is the conference is going to be amazing just because the energy, it's going to be there. Everyone's going to be there. I hope
I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there.
I'm definitely going. Are you kidding? I said that, look, a line of astronomers with rifles could not stop me from going there.
Well, and I want to throw out there for my son, hopefully my son will listen to this. Philip, you have to go with me because I need someone to drive me. And also, Moliv is going to be there with his dog, Shanty, who's a service dog. So we're going to be exhibitors, and we're going to be selling a lot of books. There's going to be a lot of
Nice.
time between now and then, and Zen will write a library.
Yeah,
Nice.
I am
There's-
not joking, Mark.
Oh, I'm not doubting it. It is going to be epic. I am so excited about all the cool things. There's going to be flat Earth cars driving, anyone within driving distance, because it's in the middle of the East Coast, is going to be driving down with their flat Earth cars with their flat Earth license plates. I already know people that's going to do that. The merchandise is going to be incredible. I can't wait to see the people, because there's going to be models. There's a guy that's designing coffee tables. There's jewelry. There's all sorts. All the fun swag you could ever think of is going to be there.
Let me bring up one last thing too before we get to the end of the show.
Yeah.
Mark, let's talk to, especially since you got all the connections with most of the people that are the big time speakers and everybody. But let's get a bounty out there. And let's have people increase. Let's see if we can get it 50,000, 100,000, and offer it as challenge. And if we can get it that high, it's going to be big news, and they're going to carry it everywhere.
You know what? Put me down for $1,000 already.
All right. Well, see, there's 6,000 right there, and then we can have Robbie included as part of the conference. If we can get $50,000 together, he can use that as a challenge to get more press for the conference.
Sure.
I think it'd be fantastic.
I like it.
Yeah,
I like it. Send me the email. I know we're running out of time, but send me the email, and I will. I'll tell this to everybody. I'm more than confident at this point.
Yeah, me too. And nobody has to put anything up, because we know they can't do it. And so it's just a bounty, like a reward.
Put me down for 100,000.
That's funny, but So let's the money definitely we'll have it out there to challenge, and let's watch them squirm.
Right. That's really, really cool, man. I'm so excited. And by the way, thank you for having me on.
Oh, man, it's always a pleasure.
You've been so excited. The shows I've been listening to you lately, and people who are writing in and calling into your show on Tuesday nights. I mean, there's a real excitement building. It's fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll keep doing it on the way, to Flat Earth 2017. We'll just keep doing it. We'll check
you, Mark.
every now and then.
Yeah, thank you guys very, very much.
Yeah, appreciate you, brother. I'll be in touch soon.
Okay.
All right. God bless all.
Good night, everybody.